It's in the break room. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the council meeting this evening. For our invocation this evening, would like to welcome Ethan Levengood, who's a chaplain at the United Zion Retirement Community. You could go to the microphone, that'd be wonderful.
Thank you. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we bow to acknowledge that in you we live and have our being, and that your kingdom rules over all. We thank you for our community and the blessings we enjoy today, which flow from a goodly, godly heritage. May we ever anchor to those beginnings. Bless these council members and all who serve the people of the Lititz area. We ask your wisdom and guidance for them, along with the rewards and satisfaction that come through serving others. Our prayers for the blessing of God here in Lititz and also upon our nation. And I pray in the name of Christ, my Lord. Amen.
Amen. Please rise for the pledge of the flag. Pledge to the flag, United States.
Right, first item on the agenda is the review and approval of the meeting minutes, April 30th.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from the April 30th, 2024 council meeting. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Ken, do we have you?
Yes, good evening, everybody.
We have no presentations, no ordinances, and we have one resolution. Head over to Mary.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to offer a resolution recognizing the Lititz Public Library's 25th anniversary at its current home. This is resolution number 988. The resolution reads as follows. Whereas Lititz Public Library has existed for more than 80 years, and whereas the Lititz Public Library moved to its current location at the corner of Kissel Hill Road and East 6th Street in 1999, and whereas public libraries provide free access to information and ideas in a safe and welcoming environment, without judgment and without fear of reprisal or censorship, and whereas Lititz Public Library is a cornerstone of this community and the entire Warwick region, now therefore be it resolved that the Borough Council of the Borough of Lititz recognizes and celebrates the Lititz Public Library's 25th anniversary at its current home. Lititz Borough Council commends the staff, volunteers, donors, patrons, and the Lititz Public Library Board on 25 successful years in its current location and encourages all to join in the library's 25th birthday celebration on June 1st, 2024. Move to approve the resolution as read.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
And if I could just take a minute to recognize any volunteers of the library and the current chair of our library board, Lynette Beck, if you want to just stand for a minute. I don't know if you have any comments you want to offer. I know you were just with us last month, but can you come up to the microphone so that everybody can hear you as well as the recording? Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mary and Council. And I just want to invite all of you to the celebration on Saturday from 11 to 4. There will be something for everyone.
Thank you so much. Any other volunteers or staff from the library here today? Like to recognize you? All right. And if you can just take our thanks to the people back at the library for us, and thank you very much for your service.
Great. No agreements. So moving right into the council members forum. First on the agenda is water and wastewater. Ken.
Hey, Steve, good evening. Am I coming in loud and clear?
Yep, we hear you.
Okay. We have two items of business here to talk about first, and the first is the Infomark report, and I see that Nate is in the audience. So Nate, as you come forward, I'd just like to say a big borough thank you to you, Mike, Jared, and Zach, and your lovely daughter Bianca, for participating in the Lititz Run Watershed Alliance annual stream cleanup. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's see. Thankfully, it's fairly quiet this past month. Actually, we did do the purchase of the annual UV replacement parts, so that was pretty much the biggest. I think it was about $12,000. That was the biggest purchase we did in maintenance. And then, as stated before, utilities and chemicals are higher this time of year, as running the biosolids dryer just about every week. And hopefully, as it warms up, that will slow down. And that's about it, other than what's in the report.
Hey, thank you, Nate. Just one question, maybe just to give the council members a little insight and so forth. When do you see the wastewater treatment facility maintenance, chemical, and utility expenses returning closer to budget? Is that primarily a temperature thing, or are there some things going on that you'd like to share?
As with normal operations throughout the year, the first 5 to 6 months is when there's a lot of maintenance, mainly a lot of chemical usage because of the dryer, and utilities because of the dryer. as the summer comes along. It's the digesters, the bugs in the digesters like to eat more. So that allows us to not have to spend that money on chemicals and utilities. So the last 6 months, it tends to come back and we try to equal out. But that's the ebb and flow of the plant.
So we do appreciate the service y'all provide and for all of us. And thanks for that answer. Any other questions from council?
Doesn't look like so, Ken.
Okay. Steve, I'd like to move to approve the Infomark April report for the Lititz Borough water and wastewater facilities.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Thanks, Ken.
Okay, you're welcome. There's one other item here. We would like to just bring everyone up to speed that tonight we're going to award the water plant variable frequency drive bid award winner. And so the background here is that we had a plan to replace 6 VFDs over time. 2 have already been purchased and installed, and so there was 4 that we had a bid out and for this replacement. And so specifically, it was 2 125 horsepower high service variable frequency drive pump control, and then 2 50 horsepower intermediate VFD pump control. And so the winning company for this bid was Garden Spot. And Garden Spot has performed work for us before. They do a good job, and they actually were the company that installed the 2 other VFDs. So we'd like to announce them as the award winner, and the total cost is $87,430. One quick question, Rob, is there some of the costs going to be offset by any grants that we have received for this project?
Yes, Ken, there's the small water and sewer grant we got around $80,000, I believe is the grant we got for that.
Fantastic. And then Nate, when do you expect the work to be completed? Sorry about that.
Well, let's see, due to some ordering issues and stuff, they actually have 2 of them on hand. So hopefully we can get this project moving pretty quickly.
Fantastic. Any other questions from council?
Elijah, do we have to go through a motion to actually approve the bidder?
Yes.
So with no other questions, Steve, I'd like to move to approve Garden Spot install 2 125 horsepower high service VFD pump controls and 2 50 horsepower intermediate VFD pump controls at a total cost of $87,430.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Hey, thanks everybody. Thanks, Nate. Thanks, Rob. Moving forward, we have just a couple committee reports, Steve, and Mary will take the lead on the stormwater report. Mary, good evening.
Good evening, Ken. Good to see you up there. The only thing that I have to report tonight is that keep an eye open on your through your water and sewer bill for a fact sheet about proper disposal of grass clippings, everyone. This is something we've done in the past with fact sheets on issues that affect the quality of our stormwater, which affects the quality of our streams. Please pay attention to those, follow the instructions on there, and help keep our streams clean. So other than that, I don't have anything, Ken, unless you have anything else to add regarding stormwater this month.
No, great announcement and nothing to add. Nice report. Okay, back to me, Steve. I just would like to report on the water sewer subcommittee. As everybody knows, we have 3 goals for the year. We are going to evaluate the water user fee, and so we announced those steps last month, and we continue to make progress for that goal. We are working on a multi-year capital improvement plan for the water and wastewater facilities, and our Our partners are continuing to provide information to help us build that plan. And then our third goal was to implement the federal lead service line replacement requirements for the Lititz residents. That's a multi-year project. Spruce Street has been completed. A lot of work is being done on Front Street. And this is the section between North Street and North Locust. And I think we may be close to finishing at this point. But Rob, could you give me that thumbs up? Did we finish? Okay, thank you. All right. So other activities we're continuing to work on culvert repairs, and we're focused on the Cedar Street side right now. We're working on a long-term solution for the 24 East Orange Street water service line solution. We've got the short-term all wrapped up, and that wraps up the water sewer committee report for the month of May. Any questions?
Thank you,
Steve, I
Ken.
turn it back to you.
All right, moving on to the subcommittee, Streets and Traffic. Tanea.
Okay, starting off with Layman Street, the parking restriction request. So just wanted to bring you up to speed where we are with that. So throughout the month of May, Chief Nye and Elijah conducted periodic parking counts on Layman Street. So in addition to West's data that they've already have taken. So total 18 parking counts individually were conducted across 14 days. So they ranged from 5:20 in the morning to as late as 10:30 in the evening. So an average of 10 cars were surveyed across all times, with 15 being the max. So what they're going to do, Jordan Garner is he's been summarizing the field review of curb cuts, hydrants, off-street parking availability, and he's going to be sending it to David Miller Associations for parking evaluations. So hopefully we'll have something else next month. Any
So-
questions on that?
So the average is 10 over those periods.
Yes.
Remind me again, how many available spaces are there right now, or you're saying that's what Jordan's going to lay out?
I think he's going to lay it out. I think we originally thought we could fit 15.
But without eliminating any, I'm curious, like what's the full capacity of the street?
Mike, do you remember any of this? Exactly, when you were out there, how many we could fit?
Trying to pull up the rough data while we talk here, but if I remember correctly, if you're talking full capacity, Steve, meaning right now, there's parking on both
Yeah, like
sides.
people
So
park.
roughly 35 spaces, give or take. I would say 30 to 35 is the number. And I think what we believe is that we can get somewhere from 16 to 20 if we go single sided.
Okay.
And that includes the possibility of jumping, there's a mid-block alley. And there had been some discussion about going, if parking is on north side, could we jump to the south side so that will affect based on the curb cuts and restrictions with proximity to the intersection and that kind of stuff.
30 was the number I was looking. Trying to get maybe 20.
Thanks, Mike.
Have we had any more conversation with residents in the street?
Not since we went out and met with them. We were just trying to gather some more data, I think. And again, they did 14 different days, all different hours, just to see how full. And at the max, we had 15 tops. So
I haven't directly spoken with any of the neighbors, but one of them did reach out to Lori to get off-street parking. This will be the neighbor on the southeast or the southwest corner of Layman and Water Street. So there's actually someone actively working to get off-street, so that would lower the number down once that's successful.
Would that be a rear access or would that be a curb cut on Layman?
It would be a curb cut. Currently, they park 2 cars. It's a double frontage lot.
maybe
Are
also
there any residents here tonight that wanted to speak to that issue? Mr. Chairman.
Out there. Are there any residents from the Layman Street that were here last month? Like to share some more?
Thanks. Anybody else have a question?
Nope. Thank you for the work you're doing on this. Appreciate everybody's help on working.
All right. Moving ahead. Special events. So we've got the Lititz Lions Car Cruise that's coming up August 21st. Scheduled between 5 PM and 9 PM on Main Street. They're going to have a closure of Main Street. It's going to be about 225 vehicles on display. That will be August 28th. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Lititz Lions Car Cruise on August 21st, 2024.
Second. I have a quick question on that one.
Go ahead.
How far down are they closing this year?
It's going to be Main Street from Locust to Broad.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion and a second.
We have a second?
Yeah, Chris
did
is-
second.
Oh, you
I
did?
seconded.
Second,
Yeah.
yeah.
All in favor?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion approved.
All right, next one up is the 4th of July celebration. In the Lititz Springs Park, this is going to be July 4th with a rain date of July 5th. It's going to running time from 11 AM to 12:30 AM. Lititz Springs Park, it's going to be their annual July 4th celebration. Like to make a motion to approve the 4th of July celebration in Lititz Springs Park.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
The Lititz Car Show put on by the VFW in their parking lot is going to be scheduled for June 16th, running time from noon to 3 PM. It's going to be a Father's Day car show to benefit the wreaths across America. I'd like to make a motion to approve the car show, the VFW, on June 16th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Next is the Lititz Police Department's National Night Out. It's going to be August 13th from 5 PM to 8 PM. It's going to be located at the Treehouse Playground. And it's going to be held in the parking lot of the actual Treehouse Playground. And that is going to be on August 13th. Like to make a motion to approve the National Night Out, August 13th at the Treehouse.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Also, the annual July 4th celebration is going to be put on July 6th located at 418 Laurel Avenue, running time from 11 AM to 8 PM. They're going to have the road closed and they're going to have kids' activities, dunk tank, and yard games. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Laurel Avenue July 4th celebration.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
And just two last things I wanted to touch on. The traffic planning and design completed a post-construction traffic signal warrant analysis for the 6th Street and Kissel Hill Road to decide whether or not a traffic signal was warranted. And after all of their data, they came back and said that it's currently, based on their analysis, signal warrants are not currently satisfied at the intersection of 6th Street and Kissel Hill Road. But consideration should be given to continually monitor the signal warrants as development progresses. So I just want to let everybody know about that.
What was that organization that?
Traffic Planning and Design, Inc. That's who the township.
That was they're a traffic engineer, dated traffic studies, but they were hired by the developer at the conclusion of the first of the developments out there. So Brian just sent that over this morning.
What was the
But
date?
that was by the township. We had.
Correct. That was the developer paying for it at the township's requirements. It was completed in November, but I just got it this morning.
Sure. And one other thing, I just wanted to give a little shout out to the Public Works Department for finishing French Street, replacing 800 feet of pipe. I had to write this one down in 6 weeks, which is pretty amazing. They were asked to have it done by July 4th and they finished May 18th. So kudos to you guys. Yay!
We go,
Renee, I was out there a couple of times to see that project and I know they ran into some rocks and they worked hard to get that completed, right? And so I appreciate the hard work that you did. Apparently the neighbors are also very appreciative of the work that's been done. And the next step, of course, will be to pave the street at some point in time. So thanks for your effort.
I'm done.
I'd just like to step back on the traffic study because that's news to me. So that was just done to see if the signal wasn't the full analysis we still intend to do once it's opened all the way, 6th Street's opened all the way to Orange.
Correct. This was just at that intersection. It was a requirement of development. I did pass it on to our traffic engineer. He's going to review it to see if there's anything that he can use for the larger study that will occur later this year.
Yeah, come on up.
I'm Dave Hilbert from Kissel Hill Road and 6th Street, the intersection. This whole traffic study is completely new to me. I had talked to the borough, I had talked with you folks, but then I also talked with the township. And this was maybe around November, December of this past year. And they weren't going to be doing anything until June around now. When they were going to do a traffic study. I have seen nothing on any roads, curbs that indicate that any things were being counted unless we're doing this from satellites. I don't know if they can do that or not. But does anybody know anything about this study?
Just from what I read on the TBD, they said it was a manual traffic study over 12 hours, 2 days, and then they extrapolate based off of that.
And what does that include? Does that include laying strips across the road like you usually see in that?
So the fact that it said manual, there literally could have been someone out there counting.
I've seen that. So that I haven't seen the study. So if manually, I just did.
Yeah, well, this is about a traffic signal. I've been here talking to you folks about a stop sign. Now, when are we gonna, let's just throw a stop sign up there now that we're not gonna have a traffic light, so let's put a stop sign in there. The road is all the way through now. I've been driving it as other friends have been using it all the way over to the high school. So it's open.
Has it been dedicated and it's fully open now?
Through Berwick Township?
Basically from Clay all the way over to Orange.
Well, no, because we haven't adopted the portion going to Orange through Moravian Manor. They just sent over the deeds about mid-month for review. And as for the township's portion, I don't know if they've accepted that or not.
Is there any of that section of the road in the borough over there?
The only parts in the borough is basically once you cross Kissel Hill, then go all the way over to Orange.
Oh, over to
So
Orange,
east
okay.
is the township,
Oh, okay.
the part through the new development.
Yeah. Well, I've been over there, like I had mentioned, and it's like a roller coaster going over there now. They have so many speed bumps in there. And I think they have at least 5 that I counted. There could be more because there's like a ripple effect as you go through some of them. And I know those weren't looked on too kindly by our borough, putting them anywhere in the borough, but now we have them on 6th Street over there.
Yeah, if I remember when they went through the development, they did what they called tabletops, not speed bumps. It kind of goes up and it flattens. I forget what the width then goes. I remember several of those were finding. And that was by the request of developer, Moravian Manor then.
So in other words, nobody has taken ownership, like the borough or the township hasn't taken ownership of these roads yet.
What has to happen? They've got to basically get everything installed that was on the approved plans. If I recall, Elijah, there was something with a sanitary line that went back and forth several times that held up some of the full dedication. So once we don't want to take ownership of it until they've done everything that they have to do.
Yeah.
And then we'll dedicate it. So that's why I asked the question. If they've done everything, dedication, all the paperwork's done before
Okay.
we take full ownership of it.
All right. Well, one more question. I know I'm over here, but is there a way that we could advertise through our Lititz record that that road is open and people can begin using it so we can get this other study that's necessary for stop signs and what have you before the fall of this year?
Yeah, we could definitely. I mean, I think we said this last month, we would want to definitely do the study when school's open. Right, because that's probably when you're going to get the most traffic, at least in that area of Orange. So that would
Yeah.
be the only reason we would wait until August, September-ish when the school's going. We wouldn't want to do it in the middle of June when there's going to be less drivers potentially entering from that side. But I think one is getting the dedication done, and then getting the traffic study when we're going to have the highest potential traffic going through there. Trust me, I don't want to delay it either. I would like to get it going too.
Yeah.
But school's out next week. I would like to set a target that we're doing it when schools start back up, the last week of August, first week of September. We set the target of getting that done in mid-September.
I can check with Jay to see about the timing. I mentioned it to him this morning when I talked to him, doing it in school, but I'll check for mid-September.
And try to find on the dedication. Again, if it's open.
Okay.
So the road is open. They have submitted paperwork to DMA that's looking basically to make sure that the right of way is correct and everything is appropriate for acceptance. But at this point, we haven't heard anything from DMA. Once that is good, then there'll need to be an ordinance that will need to be advertised and then voted on here at a meeting. So we're probably a few months away from formal acceptance of it.
Can you remind us what DMA is?
DMA is the borough's civil engineer, David Miller and Associates. Thank you.
You owe a quarter.
Thank you.
So, question on that. Before the dedication, you would confirm that any tabletops that exist were in the plans and approved. And any tabletops that were installed should have been in the plans.
Correct.
Okay.
And there were tabletops in the plans.
At the conclusion, just for everybody's information, at the conclusion of any land development, we have David Miller has to go out and do an inspection of the site to make sure the storm inlets are where they are, the grading, the trees, the curb, the walks, everything before they can get a certificate of occupancy.
I would just ask that they look specifically to make sure there aren't extra tabletops based on Mr. Hilbert, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Hilbert's comments,
If
just
I
to
re-
make sure that they are consistent with the plans.
I remember there were several, especially where, again, they haven't built out yet, but where the design, they call it close, where the major building is going to be, and there's only one leg of it right now. It's going to be a big U-shaped and living building. I remember several tabletops there. Okay. Any other comments on the traffic study? Any other comments from the public? Okay. Tanaya, was that your last item?
Yep.
Okay. My agenda back up here. Finance, back to you, Ken.
Hey, thank you, Steve, and good discussion there. Before I get started on the finance report, I'd just like to take the opportunity to answer a question raised about the 2023 year in surplus that was asked last month. Yes, the Lititz Borough ended 2023 with a surplus of 1.6 million. The borough exceeded the revenue budget with several unplanned revenue increases. So some examples of that were the realty transfer tax increase. The big chunk of money that we realized was from the sale of the Johnson & Johnson facility to Kenview, and that was an unplanned revenue increase. Another large chunk of revenue increase was the health insurance rebate. And we have several other unplanned revenue increases that added up to this year of 2023. The borough expenses were under budget also, but primarily due to the construction projects that came in under budget or work projects that were being deferred for various reasons to 2024. So that's how we landed there. More details will be shared at the council meeting in June after the Finance Committee meets with our new auditors on Thursday, May 30th, to review the 2023 audit. So I hope that gives some insight of how we landed in such a positive position. Moving forward, Steve, I'd like to go over our financial report here. So council, you have the financial statements in front of you. What you're going to see tonight is that expenses were higher than revenue. Two revenue items to highlight, though, was the miscellaneous income has already surpassed our annual budget. And this is primarily because we've been fully reimbursed for the 3 officers that attended the police academy in 2023. And another area that we're exceeding have collected quite a percentage of our revenue is the highway street services. And that's because UGI street opening permits have been at a really high level. So that's generating those funds. One area of the expenses to highlight is the data processing is much higher than expected because we've had to convert back to a new server to accommodate the new Billmaster software. So that's what's driving those revenue and expenses at the moment. Any questions from council?
I do have a question. Just clarify, you said 3 individuals, three employees went to the police academy. So who paid for that? You said we got reimbursed. Is that a grant, or how did we get reimbursed?
I think, Rob, did those fundings come from state revenues? Is that correct?
Like we paid it originally in 2023, and then we get a percentage back from the state after they graduate.
Okay.
But that didn't come in until 2024.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Tanea.
Rob, this is kind of general practice, Ken, I'm sorry, to run negative balances in the first quarter of the year for the borough?
Yes, we typically have expenses exceed our revenue until taxes start to come in. And that's normal. Good question, Jerry.
Well, in terms of cash flow, we're able to fund it through the general fund.
Right. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the financial statement and pay all of our invoices.
Second.
The motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion approved.
We have 2 recognitions to call out tonight, and that's 2 donations in lieu of taxes. The Borough of Lititz would like to thank the Lititz Church of the Brethren and Linden Hall for their generous financial contributions. One other item to report is that the Finance Committee met on Friday, May 23rd. A couple items of business that we reviewed was that we received some state funds and we were audited for the highway aid audit, and that was complete and everything was found to be in order. We are going to have our annual audit from our new auditors, and it's scheduled for Thursday, May 30th. And that's when we'll meet with Brown, Schultz, Sheridan, and Fritz, or their representatives. One of the goals for the Finance Committee for this year was to establish a funding plan for capital projects based on the capital scorecard. Our committee continues to gather valuable information and forming a tool that our managers in Public Works and our police department can evaluate vehicles. And we had some good discussion on advancing some of our tools there with our teammates. The Finance Committee also discussed on getting ready for making a mid-year review like we did last year on how the borough is trending on revenue and expenses, and that'll be scheduled for the council meeting scheduled in July of 2024. And that's my report, Steve.
Thank you, Ken.
Just one thing to add, so there's no confusion. Shortly after we hired the new auditor of Brown, Schultz, Sheridan, and Fritz, and got used to saying that, they changed their name to Brown Plus. So if you see that name out there, that's their new name, Brown Plus.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Ken.
Anybody have any other questions for Ken? All right. Come on up, David.
Dave Carson of 220 East Sixth Street. I want to thank Ken for that information that he provided. I appreciate your response to that. And I want to just find out that, yeah, I agree there was the Johnston & Johnson Realty Transfer Tax was unexpected and the healthcare reimbursement, but still take those things out, you're still about $700 to $800 or $900,000 more in revenue than what you thought. So my question again is, you talked about a capital analysis, but when or if, and will there be any discussion about reduction of taxes and fees or some kind of rebate? Is that something that will be taking place at a council member in forum or at a meeting or finance committee? So, I mean, again, just to remind the public, we're going to have a budget profit of 18,000. Ken just said 1.6. That's quite a big difference. So either the budgeted expected amounts were way too low. And the question then becomes, do you need to transfer? I mean, did you need the real estate tax increase and the garbage fees because you budgeted too low for other revenue? And what are you going to do about it now? That's my question. Any dialogue at this point in time with that as far as plans?
Hey, Dave,
Yes.
can I jump in or do you need some more time?
No, thank you. Go ahead. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a good question. And so I think a lot of the details that you're now wanting some answers are, we agree, we can answer those questions. But as I previously stated, we're going to meet with the auditors on Thursday and then provide some of the details that you're seeking that would answer your question. So you will be given a full answer, okay?
Can I talk to you directly after that meeting or should I wait till the next council meeting?
Hey, I'd be happy to talk to you. It's not a problem.
Okay, great. Thank you for your time.
And we do have a plan for the revenue and so forth, but until that's finalized with our new auditors, I would like just to hold that back and then speak to you when we complete that meeting. All right.
Okay, I just want to reiterate, I hope the plan is not just to spend money, but maybe the fact that maybe some money, the taxes and the fees to the taxpayers can be either reduced or rebated in some fashion. Because I mean, as one of your goals, which I'm appreciative of what you have, as a goal is open and transparent and fiscally responsible safeguard public resources. So these monies did come from taxpayers and fee payers. So, I mean, we need to think of those people. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, David.
Any other questions? All right. I think that's it, Ken. We're going to move on to personnel, Jerry.
Personnel, thank you, Steve. We have a couple of items from the Personnel Committee. The first item has to do with the resignation of Officer David Greenwood. He resigned on May 5, 2024. The month of May on the 6th of May, 2024. And he resigned for personal reasons. He was hired in June of 2023. So that was a resignation that we have recorded. The second item has to do with the filling of 2 officer positions. 2 officers were interviewed and were hired to start the police academy starting in July of 2024. These applicants went through the civil service testing process, the oral interviews, and background checks. Personnel Committee had a chance to interview both of the candidates, Marcus Rosa and Christopher Stryer. Both were hired to fill a potential one vacant position and some potential transitions that will go on in the police department. These two individuals are extremely capable and qualified for the position. Chris and I were very impressed with them. Rosa actually spent about 2 years waiting for a position in the Lititz Borough to open up. And so he is from the Lampeter area, wanted to be a police officer all of his life, and felt like Lititz Borough was a great place for him. He understands community policing and is just a high quality individual. We are very fortunate to have the caliber of people like him potentially joining our police department once they go through the training. And of course, Chris has been a long member of our community, wanting to make a career change, very dedicated to this community. And I did not in any way want to leave the possibility of those two people not joining our department, because they just bring a lot of character, commitment, and understanding of our community. I don't know if you want to say anything more about those hires or not.
Thank you. I'd certainly echo what you said, and certainly express a similar sentiment that from an agency standpoint, we believe both of these people would be a great fit, not only for the agency, but for the community. Certainly, when we go through our selection process, we're looking for people that we think are going to be a best fit for the agency, for the community, that share the ideals of the community and the agency. And from our perspective, there's absolutely no doubt that these two people will meet those expectations.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Chris, oh, go ahead. Sure.
I was just going to say, maybe you could help. Officer Greenwood, was he one of the
Yes.
that just went through the academy?
Yes.
What happens if did he graduate from the academy?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So what happens then if is there any kind of, I'm assuming it costs thousands to send them there. And is there some kind of contract that they sign that they need to work with the police department for so long after?
Correct.
They
There is,
finish?
there
Okay.
are some other caveats to it that can account for exceptional circumstances.
Okay.
So there is some, discretion to evaluate the nature and the circumstances of why somebody may choose to separate from the agency.
Okay. And then just curious, what's a non-uniform police employee?
It's essentially a person who is employed by the police department, but they're not a fully sworn police officer. So they don't yet employ law enforcement authority. They can't go out and make an arrest. They can't write a traffic citation, things of that nature, until they complete the academy training, which formally and legally gives them the authority to take those actions.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions? Moving on. Oh, yes.
Go ahead. Just read the question, Rob.
Who's asking?
The question is this a need? Who's asking the question? Okay.
So, absolutely, we have a transition in the department, with a police officer resigning. To keep our complement of officers, this is something that we need to do, to hire people to fill these important positions to keep our community safe. We are anticipating potential other transitions in the department. So like any responsible organization that designed to keep our community safe, we want to make sure we got people in the bullpen who are able to provide the services that we need to keep our community safe. So that would be my response to the question.
Well, I think Sergeant Hahn could answer more of that too. I mean, I've learned there's a certain number of officers on duty every hour, to make sure we have that. And some of you may be aware, before we hired the 3 officers last year, I forget what the exact number was, Jared, but there was a substantial amount of overtime, which was in turn actually costing us more having 3 new officers. So the decision we had last year when we hired the 3 was to help alleviate the excessive overtime that we were getting last year because we were down. So this is basically filling those. Go ahead.
So you are correct. Last year, we were down 3 sworn police officers from the authorized complement of the total number of sworn officers. So that obviously required some shift in strategy, some shift coverage, result in overtime to maintain staffing requirements. So with the 2 officers that we're discussing now, it's not an addition to the authorized complement. It's simply a replacement of one who left for one that's coming in, and then a replacement of one who we suspect will be leaving here very shortly within the next 12 months.
Right.
And of course, with the academy training being 6 or so months, plus another couple of months of field training internally, that'll take us up to about the point where we expect that vacancy to be.
I'll share with everybody what I know you shared with me, like the number of officers that are on duty. When you do the math, basically we barely have enough to cover everything.
Correct. We, on average, about 2 sworn patrol officers. Again, there's obviously the chief of police, there's detectives, criminal investigators, but, at the hours overnight, weekends, there's a minimum of 2 police officers available to be ready for whatever needs the borough might have.
Now, remember, we're talking about coverage every day
Correct.
of the year, 24 hours, holidays and weekends. And that requires staffing to make sure that our community is safe.
Correct. And there's also other considerations as far as, officers throughout the year being away from the patrol post for different trainings that are mandated by state law, trainings that are required for accreditation, elective training to make sure that we're not simply just meeting minimum standards. And of course, there's also contractual obligations as far as, vacation, holiday, other type of benefit leave. So, we want to make sure that we're in a position that we can maintain not only an adequate, but a safe level of coverage for the borough.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Jared.
Anything else on that topic?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would just like to say it makes me a little uncomfortable to be answering questions from the online community if they are not willing to recognize themselves and follow by our policy regarding public comments. I think we need to hold our online taxpayer community as accountable as we are holding people in the room to please disclose your name and your address for the sake of comment. And it's a wonderful thing that we have the ability to meet virtually. It's great for people who are not able to get out, whether they've got children, whether they've got a disability. We are going above and beyond to provide this, and it makes me very uncomfortable that we are not holding the commenters online to the same standard as the people in the room, which we hope that everybody in the room, you're here, that you would honor that. And I would just ask that in the future, if participants online wish to ask questions or offer comments, that they please also consider our need to, or expectation really, that we are also, you're reciprocating with open, transparent communication with us. So I just needed to say that. And with that being said, I hope that in the future, anybody who wishes to comment or ask questions would please identify themselves And if the person who asked that last question would be willing to do that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Mary, thank you for those words. And I'm actually going to extend that a little bit further. I don't usually look at the comments that are coming up through here, but in looking at them right now, if I'm reading them correctly, I'm a little concerned as well that the need, the word I'm looking for, it's felt acceptable to post this kind of comment online, but would not be spoken here on the floor. So I'd like to request that our staff take a look at some policies that we could enact. If we're going to continue with the Zoom offerings, I'd like to enact some policies regarding how we monitor and allow this chat feature to be utilized in a productive way so that we can have a very engaging and mutually beneficial conversation back and forth between council and answering the questions of our residents and their concerns and addressing them and speaking to them directly. Because some of these comments seem just like it's not something that someone would shout out from here in the audience, but it looks like they're being sort of shouted out here on the Zoom chat feature. So I'd just like for us to take a look at a policy for that.
Thank you, Mr. Oh, yeah.
Another comment? Dave?
David?
Dave Carson, 220 East Sixth Street, and I'm going to preface my comments that I support the police. I'm for the police. I love the police. So don't take this as any ridiculous nonsense reporting that was reported back in December that I will eliminate the police by the Lititz record. Whoever read that, it was ridiculous. But my question is, I understand the need to replace staff. Are you also taking into account the fact that there's going to be a transition, whatever that might be, with police chief leaving? Is that being taken into account with these hires?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So that we're forward thinking into that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we have a lot of forward thinking to do relative to how we handle the department going forward.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thanks,
And
Dave.
thank you for clarifying that, because I do believe I heard both Jerry and Sergeant Han. Sorry, I knew it was Han. I just couldn't remember your report that was the case. So thank you for that question and helping to clarify.
All right, moving on. Steve?
We should get a motion for that, for the hiring.
For the hiring of new
Okay,
officers.
yes. Yeah, so I move that we hire these two officers. Let me get my Marcus Rosa and Christopher Steyer.
Strayer.
Strayer.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. You have one more thing, I think, Jerry.
Oh, sure. So there's the resignation from the Civil Service Commission. So as a new person on the council, I was, what is the Civil Service Commission? So the Civil Service Commission is established by municipal code. And the municipalities can really define a little bit what the Civil Service Commission does. So for the borough of Lititz, the Civil Service Commission was established for the examination of applicants for positions in the police force. So we were talking about that earlier, that these two officers were interviewed by members of the Civil Service Commission. And those people are appointed by the Borough Council. So we have a resignation from that commission. Chris, who was a member of the commission, is no longer a commission member because, as you heard, he's been hired as a member of the police department. So we need to accept that resignation. There is another gentleman who has stepped up to agree to become a commission person. I've not had a chance to interview or talk with that individual yet. So I think our action tonight or today is to confirm the resignation. And then we'll proceed to an appointment at a future Borough Council meeting after the Personnel Committee has a chance to interview this individual. So I'm recommending that Chris be no longer a part of the Civil Service Commission.
A second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
And will we be posting that anywhere or getting the word out that we're looking for applicants for that Civil Service Commission? I think there is an application on the borough website for people who want to volunteer. Maybe it's just through me saying this that it starts to get out there, but another position that we have open, I presume we'll be looking at other people who have applied to volunteer in filling that position.
If we have, yes, if we have volunteers,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
And I want to speak to that issue a little later in the report relative to our goals.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is one of your goals and
So I think that's all I have for now, Steve. Thanks.
okay. Moving on to planning, Christine.
Steve? So in your packets, council, you should see a draft zoning amendment for the A-frame signs. The Planning Commission has been working very hard on this for quite some time as a response to a request from the merchants to allow them to utilize the A-frame signs, which previously has not been allowed. So the draft ordinance that's before you goes into detail about exactly which zoning law will be changed, provides you with the definitions of the A-frame signs, the area, which is the downtown overlay district where the signs would be permitted and under the ordinance. And then it continues on with regulations, specifying regulations about size and height of signs, where exactly they will be able to be placed in the right of way and on the sidewalk. Exactly which locations will be able to have them has been reviewed because there are some natural constraints with trees and other things that will not allow them to be used in certain locations. So the Planning Commission has gone through quite a few iterations of this and feels that they are ready for council to weigh in on this amendment. So I'm going to open it up if council has any questions.
Hey,
So
Chris,
far.
thank you. Thank you for your hard work with the team there to work on this document. Can you just give me some feedback? Is the planning council, are they uniform in their recommendation?
They were not unanimous in the recommendation. 3-1, 3 in favor and 1 opposed.
Do you think it would serve our community if we just pause and get more of us up to speed with the decision that we're looking to approve?
I definitely would like to hear some more discussion from council. The action before us tonight that's being requested is for us to advertise the zoning amendment. I personally would like to have, and Ken and I spoke about this, I personally would like to have a little bit more time to review it myself. I don't know how the rest of council feels.
Has there been attendance by the merchants at the planning commission meeting?
There has been some, there was not,
because I know
there
that's
was not at the,
prompted.
right, that's how it was started for sure. At the past meeting where this was approved 3-1, I don't recall any merchants being at that particular one.
I'm just trying to figure out a way to make sure we're getting their feedback because they're obviously the ones impacted and had requested this. And I don't know the best. I mean, there is a regular. Todd, are you part of the merchants group or something? I'm trying to figure out a way that we can hear from them.
I took this on at the request of the merchants. The merchants have not monthly, but regular meetings. And a year, February a year ago, this was the one request that the other people in the room had that they wish council would look at this issue and hopefully allow them to adopt A-frame signs on the sidewalks. So there were more than 30 people at that meeting, and that was the only. So I agreed that if If the merchants wanted that I would pursue it. I've had regular communications with them. More than 20 signed on to a letter, a year ago, talking about how important it was.
But have they seen the details of this draft, or that's why I was asking if they came to your planning commission meeting, so that they've been able to voice.
I have shared 3 previous drafts. I did not share the most recent draft was pretty minor changes. I'd let them know that it was being adopted at planning. 3 of them and said if you need a copy, 3 of them did ask me for copies, and so it is available. They know how to reach me. We've been talking about this pretty
So
regularly.
you feel like that main thing, I don't want
yeah.
to go through the whole process, and it's not, they're the ones that started it too.
Yeah.
I want to make sure, obviously, there's other things we have to look at from the community perspective, but I also want to make sure the people that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not speaking for every merchant, but we've had open communications. We've had at least 5 retailer meetings since then. I brought it up at each meeting, talked about the process, talked about which things may or may not be allowed, talked about the fact that there would be restrictions on the height and the color and the material. So we don't have one person putting up a 6-foot plastic sign,
Right.
that type of thing. So we talked about the fact that there would not be movable letters, the ones that you pull out of a box and put onto a sign, that would not be allowed. And that there would be some particular buildings where they would not be allowed at all because there would not be enough clearance. We talked about the fact that when there were multiple tenants in a building, they would not be allowed multiple A-frames in that front of it. So, are there merchants who don't know what's going on? It's certainly possible. Are there merchants who didn't, who have thoughts that didn't express them to me? That's also certainly possible. I don't want to say for every single merchant, but at least 40 have been to at least 2 of those meetings in the last year. As a general concern, they know what's going on. How many of them would read the exact text of the ordinance? I don't know.
Right. Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, 2 issues. I just want to make sure we're hearing from them. I would say we need time to review this to make sure everyone's comfortable with it. If we have any questions, but in reality, you're saying just to advertise it, so we wouldn't even be acting upon this tonight.
We would only be acting to advertise it, correct?
Right.
So Chris, can you share some of your concerns about the current?
Well, I can share some of the concerns that have been expressed. And some of this is coming right from the Planning Commission. Some of it's coming from a letter that we did receive from one resident, which I've shared at council maybe 4 months ago. Might have been the November meeting. No, I think it was since I was on, so it's probably earlier this year. And I can check those facts too, but so there is issues regarding the fairness and the equity amongst all merchants, since not all merchants will be allowed to have one. There are concerns about the maintenance enforceability, because if you read through the ordinance, there are timeframes. For example, signs shall not be displayed between 9 p.m. and dawn. They shall not be displayed during snow or winds over 30 miles per hour. There'll be specific criteria about how far a sign might be placed in the right of way or away from the building. And so there are some intricacies about the enforcement issues of this, and something that our zoning officer would have to stay on top of. There are accessibility concerns, and that was the letter that we received that I expressed. So there's just quite a few things to think through before we adopt an actual amendment to a zoning ordinance. On the other side, the merchants have spoken that this is something they feel directly impacts their bottom line, to the tune of, for some of them, of about 30%. They have noticed a drop of 30% in their business when they do not have their A-frame sign out front. So we have a little bit of benefit of having allowed this during COVID times, having allowed the merchants to place their A-frame signs, even though they were not allowed per the ordinance. But because of the extenuating circumstances of COVID, Lori let them have it. And so that's how we have this data, or the merchants have this data indicating that this has been a benefit to their bottom line.
I think the 2 biggest concerns I would have, and I'm reading here, item B, which gets to the accessibility. So that I've been in different communities in different cities where you're just trying to walk around all of them. And then the other thing would be the consistent look of them. I remember, and Todd, you, I think were part of it when we went through the open signs. I feel like that was 10 or 15 years ago. But we didn't want like a patchwork of those. I think that actually looks very nice downtown, the distance, the look of the open sign. So that would be two things I would want to make sure read clearly in here.
And to use the open signs as an example, I know that that was difficult to get through, but boy, it sure did pay off because the open signs do look fantastic. They're a benchmark for other communities have taken notice to how beautiful our open signs look, and so that it was definitely time well spent and effort well spent as hard as it.
Spent a lot of time on that. Get there, and I agree. I think we came up with the best result. So, okay.
Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, but would you mind going back to the microphone, please, and stating your name and your address? Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Todd.
Yes, but when I come up during public comment, I do that when I'm called to the microphone. It doesn't always occur to me. Todd Dickinson, 126 South Spruce Street, owner of Aaron's Books on Main Street. So resident and a business owner.
And on the planning commission. So.
And I also serve on the planning commission. Yes.
I called you up because of those two planning commission members.
I understand.
Okay.
It's for the sake of our residents because not everybody knows you. They should. But for everybody who doesn't know Todd, this is Todd Dickinson.
Okay. Thank you
very much. And I would also like to ask that we pause as chair of the zoning committee. I'd like the opportunity to speak with the zoning officer about the enforcement issues that you've mentioned before we decide to advertise, if we could pause on that.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything time sensitive to this, Todd. I mean, I know this has been going on for a period of time through planning. I'm sure they're. Okay. So I agree. Other conversation.
And just for those who couldn't hear, Todd did indicate that there is no specific date that we need to adhere to for the merchants' expectations at this point.
Okay, so unless anybody is opposed to that, looking up and down here.
I just wanted to ask to clarify. So these signs would be more, they're in addition to the open signs, which they'll know they're open, but just to basically put like, we're having 20% off or that kind of stuff. I'm assuming the point, are they planning on putting them out closer to where the parked vehicles are mainly? No, up against more closer to their building.
That's in the ordinance.
Yeah, that says it in here.
States where they're supposed
Has to be within
they have to be
15 feet.
within Such close to there, they cannot restrict cars opening their doors.
Right, that was my
at the
concern.
parking area, and they also have to have X number of feet.
Yeah, to not get into details about 15 feet, I'm just thinking there's 15 feet, many of our Main Street
Right.
stores from the front door to the curb, so. All right, well, we don't need to debate that right
Right.
now. All right, any other, table that. Or he's gonna do some research with zoning, all of us are gonna have more time to look at the details of what's drafted.
Elijah, do you need a motion to table?
No.
No, thank you. I believe that's all I have tonight, Steve.
Okay. Mary zoning,
No report, sir.
building and grounds, Ken?
Hi, Steve. Thank you. Jerry Meck is going to present tonight's report for me. Thank you.
And so, part of that. First. Started.
Unable to hear Jerry.
Summer program. Staff build. Out there. Discovered takes about potential any plant. To the trees located.
park. Update was provided regarding park. Ribbon cutting ceremony. Plan. Members and before. Parking includes full basketball court, playground, naturalized area, walking. Park. You then notice a couple discussions about plants. That for all the parking.
Just to share with everybody, I think the work on New Street was done just shy of 10 years when they added the rock feeding down to the water there, the walking path. Quite a bit of work. Great that year. Ken, did you have anything else on building and grounds?
No, I don't. I thank you, Jerry, for presenting the report. So no, I have nothing to add, but Jerry, I was unable to hear anything there. So I wonder if your mic is working. I don't know if anybody else
I'm
online
sorry
had
about
any-
that. Yes.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah. Do I need to repeat everything I just said?
No, brother. You and I can catch up.
All right. Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing more in building and grounds, we'll move on to benefits and insurance, Jerry.
No report.
Okay. Regional plan, Mary?
Yes, thank you. I am excited to announce that, excuse me, Strengthening Community 2030, the joint strategic comprehensive plan developed by Lititz Borough, Warwick Township, and Elizabeth Township has been finalized. The draft has been finalized and publicized on the website, which is strengtheningcommunity2030.com. I encourage everybody to go there and take a look at the plan. A planner such as myself loves reading things like this. Some others might find it good for nighttime reading, but it is a culmination of about a year's worth of work from our community in looking at how we want our community to grow and evolve over time. So I encourage you all to go and begin working through that plan. The process for adoption is as follows. We needed to send that plan to the adjacent municipalities. So any municipality that abuts the Lititz, Warwick, Elizabeth Township borders will receive an opportunity. They'll receive the plan and have the opportunity to comment on it. The school district, Warwick School District, will have an opportunity to provide comment, as will the Lancaster County Planning Department. They'll have 45 days for those comments. Our planning commission, the Lititz Borough Planning Commission, will be discussing the plan at their June and July meetings. There will be, to my understanding, there will be opportunity for general discussion, comments, and questions from the public during those meetings. In August, that will continue, and there will be a vote to on whether to forward the plan to the Borough Council for formal adoption. So you've got June, July, and August to get that plan read and get in and meet with our planning commission and talk with them about what's in there. And to have offer any comments or questions. The planning commission will forward that, as I said, with a recommendation. They'll include any public meeting comments that they've received. And council will then hold a public hearing, upon the conclusion of which we will take a vote on whether to adopt the plan or not. Each of the other municipalities will be going through a similar process. I encourage you to talk with your friends and neighbors in the adjoining communities and encourage them to also participate in their public participation processes, which will be similar. So again, the web address is strengtheningcommunity2030.com. And I just want to extend thanks to the staff. Elijah Urick has been on the core planning team, to all of the volunteers who served on the steering committee for the plan, and to all of the residents who went out and participated in the development. So here we go again. 2030, we'll be continuing to do implementation, assuming the plan is adopted, and just really looking forward to us continuing the successful evolution that we've had of a thriving community here in the region. And I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has them. From council, any questions from council or comments?
As Mary recommended, if anybody really wants to get into some of the details of the conversation on this, I would recommend going to the planning commission meeting. That's a big part of the role. So they will be discussing a lot of these details before it comes to us. And the first Tuesday of every month, 7 o'clock.
Planning commission is first Tuesday. That's correct. Yep.
That's 1 week from today.
Any
And-
questions from the audience, participants online or person? Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Looking down here, report by rec center liaison.
That's me. I have my mic on now this
Okay.
time. Okay. So yes, I attended the board of the rec center on May 21. Some highlights from that meeting included they approved our budget of 5.8 million in revenue with 4.1 in the expenses. So they have a net income of 876,000. They includes a 4.5% membership fee increase. And they're going through a construction project, and the construction costs of 4 million have been self-funded. I was impressed by that. In terms of membership, their membership it has been increasing more toward seniors. The two largest membership categories are family and seniors, and 20% of the members of the rec center are Lititz Borough residents. Pickleball continues to be popular. Personal training sessions have increased. The pool will open in May. You saw that already. Enrollment has begun for the children's programs. And construction update, phase 1 has been completed. Phase 2 lobby renovations are in process and on schedule. Phase 3 is the largest part of the construction and will take up the most time. That is in process as we speak. And during the phases of the construction, there was no interruption of programs, and the construction project is to be completed by October of 2024. So just remember, the borough has a stake in the Lititz Rec Center. We lease the land. I think the borough leases the land free to the borough, to the rec center. We make a contribution annually to the rec center in the amount of $39,866. And we've also contributed through the construction for the capital contribution to the pool. That was some time ago, and we make an annual contribution of $10,000 a year. So we are invested in what happens at the rec center, and I'm glad to be part of the liaison. So tonight we've heard about 3 things that make Lititz unique. Well, a number of things. 1, the library. 2, the park at New Street, and 3, the rec center. All these are part of our community that really is, makes a contribution to the welfare and the life of our community. So does anybody have any questions about the rec center and our participation with them? Thank you, Steve.
All right. That concludes, I believe, council members forum. I don't see anything else on there. So moving on to the report by the borough engineer, you all have a copy from David Miller Associates report. Any questions? Anyone? Okay. Moving on to report by the mayor and the chief of police. Mayor, will let you go first.
Main thing that I have to talk about tonight is just I am in the process of trying to get a junior council person. I will open this up to the I have not received any applications yet, even though I have gone to the civics club, et cetera. So maybe someone will be dragging in, but if anyone knows any student that is in 10th, 11th or 12th, going to 12th grade, that would be interested in learning more about government, please contact the borough office and I'll get them an application.
So Jahan, do you have anything else to share other than what was in chief's report? Okay. Anybody have any questions during chief's report? All right, moving on to the reports by the managing directors. You have both Elijah and Rob's reports in your packet. Start with you, Elijah. Is there anything else you wanted to share other than your report?
Just, I received word this morning that the master controller for the Broad Street intersections is not able to be repaired. We're currently using a loaner one from our signal consultants. We're meeting tomorrow morning to talk with them and with PennDOT about the issues that were caused by the power outage. What we're looking at now is actually, instead of having a master controller, possibly using GPS pucks that would be installed on top of the cabinets. I'm told that will actually keep time better than a master controller, which is now kind of an antiquated system. So evaluating that, and I'll update you on that as I get more information. The other thing to just highlight is the most recent development with the runabout line. As I mentioned previously, there is a water line that goes over to Kenview. It's about 70 years old. It's not ductile iron. It's the iron that we don't want. That's old and easy to break. So discovering this kind of late in the design process, and talking with NTEC, their recommendation was, while Norfolk Southern is doing construction and doing the project management, there's no better time to replace this line based on its age. So we ended up doing a design project for that just completed, and Norfolk Southern is reviewing that. So another delay, but hopefully this is one that's well worth the delay in the long run. So any questions?
Any questions for Elijah?
Just on the signal controller, is that a PennDOT potential expense, or is that a borough potential expense?
So the way PennDOT works is, while they own the roads, the municipalities own the traffic signals.
Okay.
So they are our expense. Now, there is a grant program we've been very successful for, which is Green Light Go. And we received, hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years for signal upgrades. And that's specifically to help mitigate some of these costs. In the short term, these GPS pucks will probably be something that we will incur the cost on. It is not tens of thousands of dollars. It's anywhere from about $1,000 to $2,000 from what I've been told. Still don't have the estimate, whereas a new controller is $10,000 or more. Also, a new controller is very susceptible to lightning strikes. This is not the first time this has happened, but in the past it has been repaired, refurbished, brought back online. Unfortunately, at this point, it is not coming back. So,
Thank you very much, Elijah.
Okay. Rob, anything else you want to share?
Yeah, just a few quick things. Friendly reminder first, June 5th, for those of you who are attending remotely, council for the Zoom meeting with Hope International to see what the hardware and software would look like for a AV upgrade. Pretty sure I already sent those invites out. The Billmaster conversion that Ken mentioned earlier is complete. That happened last Wednesday. Happy to report that it's working very well here with the local server. A few hiccups that day, but nothing too crazy. And our next project, now that Billmaster conversion is done, is to work with Paymentus. Paymentus is the online billing software, so that we can enable residents to pay on a schedule for their water, sewer, and trash bill. Set it up, automatic pay type thing. Last, as you guys know, we did not receive any bids for the HVAC upgrade here at the council or Borough Hall. So we reached out to two separate vendors. They both are inclined to send us proposals. I'm hoping I'll have those by the June meeting. Well, the one guy's on vacation. They haven't done a site visit yet, but I'm hoping still for the June meeting we can have that information to you. And that's all I had. Any questions I can answer for you?
Anyone? You're off the hook, Rob. All right. New business, no new business, unfinished business. Jerry and Ken, do you guys want to talk about the goal up?
Yeah, the goal worksheet update. I remember we implemented this a couple of months ago to kind of give us a matrix for how we are accomplishing our goals. I don't know, Rob, if you can put that worksheet up on the screen, but just a couple of updates on the worksheet under personnel and negotiations. The personnel committee is reviewing the vacancies of sub committees. And I just want to note that we have a number of them coming up. So the planning committee will have two upcoming vacancies at the end of this year. The zoning will have one, the historical commission will have one, the city borough authority will have three in 2024, and the Lititz Park will have one member. So just to let you know that we are working, as you mentioned, Mary, to publicize these potential vacancies and encouraging people to go to the website and go to the volunteer section where there's an application and fill that out. And as these vacancies come up, we hopefully will have some people in the bullpen to fill these vacancies that will be happening at the end of this fiscal year. So that's Planning Commission 2, Zoning 1, Historical Commission 1, City Borough Authority 3, and Lititz Park 1. So that's an update on the personnel for nominating, personnel and negotiation, as well as the Planning Committee is in the process of reviewing their purpose statement. And then on the streets and traffic, they met with Sergeant Hahn to put together that all of the permits will be on one application. Is that right?
That's what we're
Tania?
looking into, yes.
Yeah.
Make it a little bit easier, more streamlined.
Yeah, that's great. That's really helpful. And then lastly, under planning, the draft plan was distributed to council for review, which we heard this evening. So that's an update on our goal worksheet. This is a new process. It's still something that we're working on. We'll be refining as it goes along, but it gives us a little bit of a management tool to see how we're doing in accomplishing some of the major goals of the committees.
I think what we shared, I can't remember if it was last month or the month before, I'd requested each council member, when you're giving your committee updates, point out or note any of these goals that are being accomplished, or if you're looking for some help to try to accomplish.
Thank you.
But I think that's what we decided, rather than just having a set time where we review each of these. When you're giving your committee updates, share any progress on your goals.
Any questions from the audience? Thank you.
All right, no other business. And the final item, public comments and questions. If there's any questions of any agenda items that were not on the agenda that you would like to address council? Anyone in the public? Okay.
To make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion approved.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Good